विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नित्य नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. हम्म. So, हम्म,
I read.
हाँ पढ़ेंगे प्रभु.
Over and above this, Srimad Bhagavatam is a personal commentation on the Vedanta Sutra by Sri Vyasadeva. It was written in the maturity of his spiritual life through the mercy of Narada. Sri Vyasadeva is the authorized incarnation of Narayana, the personality of Godhead. Therefore, there is no question as to his authority. He is the author of all Vedic literatures, yet he recommends the study of Srimad Bhagavatam above all others. In other Puranas, there are different methods set forth by which one can worship the demigods. But in the Bhagavatam only, the Supreme Lord is mentioned. The Supreme Lord is the total body, and the demigods are the different parts of that body. Consequently, by worshipping the Supreme Lord, one does not need to worship the demigods. The Supreme Lord becomes fixed in the heart of the devotee immediately. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended the Srimad Bhagavatam as the spotless Purana and distinguishes it from all other Puranas. Should I pause, Prabhu, or should I read ahead?
Yeah, okay, let's pause a little bit.
Yes, okay.
So, um, just note, there is a verse which comes in Bhagavatam. Wait a minute. Yeah, sorry. So there's a verse in Bhagavatam. Devarshi bhutapta nrinam pitranam na kinkaro nayam ranicharajan sarvatmana yah sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parihritya kartam. So one who has given up all material duties and taken shelter of lotus feet of Mukunda, who offers shelter to all, Sharanyam, is not indebted to demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even one's own forefathers who have passed away. All such classes of living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and one who surrenders to the Lord's service has no need to serve such persons separately. So actually, we are born with so many types of rina or debts. Actually, at every point, we are dependent on something else. We may like to think that we are very powerful, very intelligent, very strong, very independent, but actually, we are not even 1% independent. The living entity, like Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, you know, ईश्वर सर्वभूतानाम हृदय देशे अर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्राम्यन सर्वभूतानि यंत्रारूढ़ानि मायया. The Lord is seated within the heart and He is directing. So I may think I'm a brilliant engineer or a brilliant doctor, but actually it's the Lord. He says, okay, go to this university and study. And then mattah smritir jnanam apohanam cha. He gives the intelligence. Okay, you have a desire to become a doctor. Okay, go here. I will give you the intelligence. You study and you will become a doctor. This ability to become a doctor is also given by the Lord only. And the body, the body of the living entity is naturally given by the Lord. So the living entity is only independent enough to desire, not at all independent to actually act on it. That's why Krishna says, like in the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has already spoken, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Why would Krishna say that? Ma phaleshu kadachana. You have no right to the fruits because Krishna is giving it. Now imagine a child is going with his parents. Now he says, okay, I want some candy. Okay, the father buys him candies. He says, I want some toys. Father buys him toys. Next he says, oh, I want some computer. Father says no. Now the child is very unhappy. What happened? No, it is because in every desire of his, he was not independent. It was the father who was fulfilling the desire. So where was the question of him being the rightful owner of anything? It was just father's goodwill which was giving him everything. So therefore, if one has to, so if a child has to fulfill the desire, he has to please the father. Okay, father, I need this because. And then father will say, okay, I will sanction it. So Well, the Lord is the objective of everything. So sometimes we see so many people in the community, they worship demigods, they worship this, that, tantrics, and everything. But actually, it is the Lord who's fulfilling everything. Without the Lord's sanction, nothing can happen. It is the Lord who's sanctioning everything. Now, this requires a great deal of maturity. So, and we are talking about whose maturity? Srila Vyasdev's maturity. What to speak of us? We are like completely ignorant creatures. But Srila Vyasadeva, who is the author of the Vedas, he when he gained maturity in devotional service, then he wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is none other than a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Janmadiyasya yata. We started with that. Janmadiyasya yata. So Vedanta Sutra, natural commentary. Now, for some of us who are more pedantic, or we can say more dedicated to details, don't try searching for Vedanta Sutra to find each sutra and corresponding explanation in Bhagavatam. It doesn't work like that. I've explained so many times in the past also that this is a philosophical work. Just like Arjun asked Krishna that what is the nature of one who is self-realized? How does he sit? How does he talk? How does he act? But Krishna did not answer, okay, answer one, two, three. No, Krishna gave a philosophical answer. So Bhagavatam is a natural commentation on Vedanta Sutra, but you will not find a point-to-point correspondence. But the overall theme is identical. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam directly connects. So why do we suffer in this world? We are suffering in this world because of our desires. I mean, of course, it is our sinful reactions which have put us in a position of poverty. And because of that poverty, we have so many desires. So in this material world, even the so-called millionaires and billionaires like Bill Gates, Ambani, they're also beggars. Their desires are never getting completed. They're struggling. Manashasthani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. So they're also struggling. So they are using this method, that method to acquire more wealth, more power, more position. So actually, that is not what a soul is supposed to behave like. So Srila Vyasadeva hmm, has compiled this literature to explain that one has to only surrender to the Supreme Lord. So in this world, we are performing so many activities of karma and gyan to acquire satisfaction. But Srila Vyasadeva comes and directly says that you just surrender everything. Krishna says, Mam ekam sharanam vraja. So Srimad Bhagavatam explains how to surrender to that Supreme Lord. This is the maturity of Vyasadeva. We're going to see this later on in Bhagavatam, in this canto itself, how this great literature came about, how Vyasadeva actually wrote it, or rather why he wrote it. So he was experiencing some sort of dissatisfaction because he felt that in spite of describing everything, there was something still missing. So Narad Muni explained to him that he had described everything, but he had not come to the point, the very focus of all these scriptures. So therefore, Vyasadeva cut out all the unnecessary part out of the scriptures and only focused on the main theme, that is the Supreme Lord, the absolute truth. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be a literature written in his maturity, because so many activities in this world are not going to give us satisfaction. So many Vedic activities like karma, gyan, they are not going to give any peace to the heart. The living entity at all points, in spite of following all rules and regulations, will still remain a slave to his mind. As we see in the story subsequently of Maharaj Prachina Barhishat, who was very pious. He was performing all sorts of sacrifices and all sorts of ceremonies, but his chief desire was only to be happy in home life. And Narad Muni delivered him by telling him some allegorical story and explaining that how living in home life till the end of the body is so dangerous. So by hearing his story, Prachina Barhishat would leave this world. So that is the objective of Bhagavatam, to make us detached from this material world and attach us to the real objective of life, the supreme absolute truth. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments? Okay, you can continue, Prabhu. Another Prabhu, you can continue. Would someone else like to read?
Hare Krishna,
Prabhuji,
Prabhuji. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yes. No, Mataji, you can read.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, मैंने late join किया. I don't know where are we starting from. मुझे बता दीजिए, please.
The proper method. This paragraph, the proper method.
ठीक है जी. Thank you जी. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ji ki jai. The proper method for receiving the transcendental message is to hear it submissively. The challenging attitude cannot help one realize this transcendental message. One particular word is used herein for proper guidance. This word is sushrusu. One must be anxious to hear this transcendental message. The desire to sincerely hear is the first qualification. Less fortunate persons are not at all interested in hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam. The process is simple, but the application is difficult. Unfortunate people find enough time to hear idle social and political conversation, but when invited to attend a meeting of devotees to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, they suddenly become reluctant. Sometimes professional readers of the Bhagavatam immediately plunge into the confidential topics of the pastimes of Supreme Lord, which they seemingly interpret as sex literature. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to be heard from the beginning. Those who are fit to assimilate this work are mentioned in this shloka. One becomes qualified to hear Srimad Bhagavatam after many pious deeds. The intelligent person, which with thoughtful discretion can be assured by the great sage Vyasadeva that he can realize the Supreme Personality directly by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam without undergoing the different stages of realization set forth in the Veda. One can be lifted immediately to the position of Paramhansa simply by agreeing to receiving this message. Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you very much. So, tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. When you go to a school or a university to study, you accept whatever they teach. You cannot go to a teacher and say, why are you teaching me, mathematics? I have come here to study rocket science. No, I mean, the teacher knows. First, you need to understand mathematics. Then you can understand further. You can't say, no, 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 you teach me now. I want to design a rocket now. No, you can't say that. Likewise, if you go to become a doctor, you can't say, okay, now teach me how to treat a patient. No, they'll teach you only basic biology. They'll just teach you some very basics, anatomy, biology, these kind of things. You won't be treating patients from your first day in the college. So that's how spiritual science also is. See, spiritual life is a very difficult subject matter. In fact, it's the most difficult subject matter. Everything else that we study in this world are, physically present in front of our eyes. They are within our conception. But spirit science is beyond our conception. It's aprakata. We can't see it. We can't perceive it. So therefore, we have to depend. We have to depend on somebody else. We have to have faith. So adau shraddha tata sadhu sango. So adau shraddha. In the beginning, you have some faith that there is something higher than this material world. There is something more than what I see with my eyes. So with that faith, you attach yourself to sadhus. Tata sadhu sango. Then submissively you try to understand. Because the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam is beyond our conception. I cannot say, oh, I've studied so and so in my previous life, now I know. No, we do not know anything. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself said that I am a fool. That's why my spiritual master ordered me to only chant and not, occupy my mind with study of Vedanta Sutra. So that's the subject matter. It's a very difficult subject matter. The spiritual master, he has seen what. So, Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. He's tattvadarshi. He has seen the absolute truth. So he can guide you how to reach there. So, shushushu. So, first of all, there must be some desire. We can't just be curious, okay? Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Chaturveda bhajante mam jana sukriti Arjuna. That 4 types of people surrender to me, who approach me. Jana sukriti Arjuna. So, of these So, artho jigyasu artharthi jnani cha bharatarshava. So, those who are in difficulty, those who are just curious, those who seek some material benefit, and those who are trying to understand the Lord. So, of these four categories, the fourth one is considered very dear to the Lord. The other three may even go away as soon as their desires are fulfilled, like we see so many times. Like Krishna himself says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvata. So out of thousands and thousands, one may be actually curious, and out of thousands of such curious, one may be actually realized. So not that the whole world will be running to hear us. Some people will come. Okay, that's nice thing to hear, but I am happy with my life. My family is good. My job is good. My knowledge is good. But I heard what you said. It's nice. This is Jigyasu. They won't go far because eventually the material energy will be attracting them. But Jnani is someone who is coming to surrender to the Lord. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. So he's coming to surrender to the Lord after a very long battle. He has gone through sarvavastham agatopiva. He's gone through so many stages. Now he's finally coming to understand Krishna. Therefore, he doesn't want to leave it. So Jnani is considered very dear to the Supreme Lord because after completing the process of knowledge, now he has approached Krishna. There is nothing left for him to discover. Now he is trying to firm up his faith. Now he's trying to realize the truth that he has been searching in all his past discoveries. So, so one must be very sincere to desire. One must one must be very anxious, and one must hear submissively, not in a challenging mood. Like we see, especially we see in the West, that now even in India now people challenge. Why do you say like this? Why did Prabhupada say like that? Just today some Mataji sent me a message. Why did Prabhupada speak like this against Matajis? Well, you're dull, you're an animal head. You can't understand. What are you trying to challenge? Maya will kick you in the head and turn you into a dog. Then you will have no intelligence left to argue these points. When a guru says something, you just accept. Because, like Srila Prabhupada also used to say, that I never asked any questions to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And even though I didn't understand many things that he said, but I just had faith in his instructions. He told me, whenever you get time, just translate the literatures, publish books, and preach in English. And just see, he had just faith in these two, three instructions. Actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur never even ordered Srila Prabhupada. He just gave suggestions. Maybe you can try. Try publishing books if you have time. Try preaching in English to the West if you can. And Prabhupada was a grahastha living in Calcutta with a family, 4 kids, and wife, and so many things. And Prabhupada also used to say that, I had no understanding of how I would ever achieve these targets. I had no understanding of how I would ever fulfill the instructions of my spiritual master. But I just had faith that if he has given me the instruction, there must be some reason. And in the end, Prabhupada did achieve all of that. So that's the process. It's a very long process. It took Srila Prabhupada also 30 years before he could actually understand the instructions of his spiritual master properly. That too, when Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj and Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Swami told him, they said, Bhakti Vedanta Prabhu, no one can preach without being a sannyasi. So you must take sannyas now. And Srila Prabhupada was already in two minds, so he took sannyas. Prabhupada was living as a Vanaprastha in Vrindavan. So when he heard these suggestions from his godbrothers, then he contemplated very seriously. Prabhupada says that, yes, I thought I've been living here anyway as a renunciate for so many years. So might as well take the formal initiation and try to fulfill the order of my spiritual master. And we can see how it went. So it's a tough task. It's not easy. Mere curiosity in the path of bhakti is not going to help. It must be sincere desire followed by total submissiveness. Of course, intelligent submissiveness. Not that we accept anything. We must question, but humbly. We must ask for shastric explanation for everything. That's the way to test the spiritual master. So ask questions based on principles, based on the scriptures. Then the spiritual master is also pleased and he will reveal the truth. But first of all, there must be service and there must be surrender. So service and surrender, then we can ask questions. And the spiritual master is already there. But everyone is not meant to be spiritual master. One who is completely surrendered to Krishna, completely surrendered to his own spiritual master, he alone can be the spiritual master. So it's a difficult process. It's not an easy one, but it is worth. Hmm. So sometimes people want to hear stories also. Like, sometimes we hear, oh, Prabhuji, what you speak is boring. I don't like hearing Srila Prabhupada. He's a bit too dry. This is the symptom that our heart is dry. We are covered over by Maya. We just want to jump to stories. I like hearing Katha. Well, this is Katha. How to get out of this material world? Because we can't hear it. We can't hear the Katha if the ears are stuffed with Maya. Then it is nonsense. Today we like the Katha of Krishna. Tomorrow we'll like Katha of some Bollywood movie. That is all nonsense. So we must, even if we don't like it. Actually, I was hearing one lecture that one who doesn't feel like chanting needs to chant the most. So you see, so we have to surrender to Krishna and hear submissively. After hearing a lot, then we'll become purified. Actually, if you see the lectures of Srila Prabhupada, very little bit of it is actually story. Even when the subject matter is some story, Srila Prabhupada gives philosophical explanations. Because we can relish the stories only when we are completely purified. If today we discuss the story of, how Krishna reached Mathura, what will we understand? For instance, there's a sentence that comes in Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada puts it in Krishna book, that when Krishna entered Mathura, there were so many people who had different perspectives. The ladies saw him as Kamadev, Cupid. They considered him to be a great lover. The demonic saw him as death personified. The scholars, the Gyanis, they saw him as the absolute truth. And the saintly, the Vaishnavas, they saw him as deliverance itself. So we can see, but how can we perceive this? If we see Krishna now face to face, we'll probably see the way Kans saw him or Duryodhan saw him. Because our conception is completely clouded over by materialism. So therefore, we have to purify ourselves. Cheto darpana marjanam. So we have to clean our eyes first. We have to clean this mirror of consciousness. Then we'll be able to perceive Krishna. Then all these stories of Krishna will manifest in our heart. We don't have to hear them externally. Of course, Srimad Bhagavatam Vyasadeva is very kind. He has put these stories here. But we should not jump to these. We should wait. Because this is not some cheap literature. Krishna is the absolute truth, absolute personality of Godhead. For his own pleasure, he has his internal potency. Who can please the Supreme? He is the Supreme Pure. So one who pleases him must also be supremely pure. That can't be some mundane woman. That has to be his own expansion. So Srimati Radharani is an expansion of Krishna himself. She is the feminine aspect of the Supreme. Therefore, the pastimes, the loving pastimes of Krishna and Radha, they are not a cheap subject matter of some materialistic personalities. But actually, they are the original pastime of the absolute truth. So to reach that stage, we have to purify our consciousness and go through these 10, 12,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we'll probably understand who is the Supreme Lord. That's why in this initial part of Srimad Bhagavatam, we are not discussing the personality of Godhead directly, but we are discussing him as the absolute truth. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
So, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So, if we did this verse in like 3 parts, 3 days. So, in a gist, if you are to understand, like, what is this verse mainly focusing on? So, how do we understand, like,
That's a
so
nice
many
question.
aspects Prabhupada has touched over here in this purport.
So let's look at the translation. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are pure in heart. The highest truth is really reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva, Sri Vyasadeva, is sufficient in itself for God realization. As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, he becomes attached to the Supreme Lord. So, here we started with the 4 aspects of the Vedic knowledge: pious activities, economic development, satisfaction of the senses, and liberation. Then Srila Prabhupada continued to talk about how the human civilization is in such a low stage of consciousness that no one goes to religious places at all. That people are just interested in artha. No dharma, they just want artha and calm, some wealth and some sense gratification. So they are willing to even commit the most abominable activities to acquire this wealth. Like where I live, just 2 kilometers down the line, there is a factory where animals are skinned alive for their fur. And this company is like a big company which exports this kind of fur. So you can see this is a demon. This is Rakshas actually, not even demons. Demons are also somewhat civilized. This is a man-eater kind of civilization. So people are just interested in all these activities. There's no need for religion because they can get artha directly. They don't understand that this is actually thievery. This is stealing. So Bhagavatam rejects this kind of understanding. Now, also beyond this, there is also the concept of liberation. So people think, okay, if I can somehow become invisible, completely lose my personality, then I'll be happy. Those who are karmis, those who are just on the lower stage of civilization, they just want to enjoy the material wealth, gross sense gratification. But those who are slightly more intelligent, they realize that there is no sense gratification from this body. They meditate and they realize, oh, actually, any kind of body is actually miserable. So it's best to just get rid of this body, annihilate it. But because that conception is also on the platform of false ego, I and mine, so they are not able to reach the person, they are only able to reach the impersonal aspect of the Supreme. So Bhagavatam rejects this also. Okay, so so all these conceptions are actually materialistic, though they may sound very pious. Performing yajnas, pleasing the demigods, acquiring wealth to enjoy under rules and regulations, becoming one with the impersonal Brahman, neglecting, not committing anything sinful, just simply meditating and becoming one with Supreme. All this sounds very nice, but in reality, this is all based on personal sense gratification, I and mine. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam rejects all of this and explains that understanding of the absolute truth and rendering devotional service is the highest welfare of all living entities. And this was compiled by Srila Vyasadeva in the maturity of his devotion, when he had already described all the Karma Kand, Jnana Kand. Then he came to this process. So he described the Srimad Bhagavatam as a summary of all the Vedic literatures that he had compiled. So Srila Vyasadeva describes all of this as cheating religions, because these religions, whether it's enjoyment of senses or merging with the Supreme, these are all on a materialistic conception only. And they are cheating because they do not give the benefit they promise. In the end, the living entity has to again take birth and suffer in this material world. But if he takes to devotional service under the guidance of an expert spiritual master and studies the Srimad Bhagavat, he will be completely delivered from this miserable material existence, because he will become a devotee of the Lord. He will understand how to serve the Lord and achieve his constitutional position. Savaya pumsham paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje. So he understands bhakti. That's the core of Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhakti. Not mukti, not gyan, not karma. So therefore Srimad Bhagavatam is considered Amala Purana. Completely pure Purana. No contamination. Okay. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
Beautiful explanation, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Okay, then we stop here today. Thank you very much, everyone. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you.
Dandavad pranam. Thank you.